Okay, now as well as this, it's best to actually put something in between them, since this is where we're going to be writing stuff. Now, for example, I'm going to throw in something like heading 1. Okay, now I'm just going to do the same thing for these three. So, heading 2 for here, heading 3 for here, and 4, 5, and 6 for the rest of them. Okay, okay. Now, you may want to make sure you actually put the text properly between here, since I've accidentally sort of managed to go around into the text by accident. So it's always the best idea to actually insert the text you want that's going to be written in between your heading tags. Okay, so this is what heading tags, as you can see, looks like. So you open a tag, you put in the letter H for a heading, and you put in a number, so 1 being the biggest size heading, 6 being the smallest size. Then you close a tag, and then you type whatever you want that you're going to have as your heading, and then you do the closing tag. Okay. Now, when you're done this, don't forget to save. Okay. And once you're done that, if you still have your web browser up, you can just click into it and then refresh it. So as you can see here, we have our headings. So from heading 1 being the biggest, going all the way down to heading 6 being our smallest. Okay. Okay, so that's the headings. Now, these are not the only forms of writing in HTML. Another form of writing is actually paragraphs. Now, paragraphs are just by using the letter P in our tags. Now, the one difference between a heading and a paragraph is that, as you may notice, that with the headings they're all different sizes, but with a paragraph there's a default size. So there is a good bit of a difference between them. So I'm just going to throw in something random so you can actually see the difference between the headings and the paragraphs. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to fix up some of the text. Okay, so this, for example, could be our HTML paragraph. Okay, so now if we go back to our web browser and then refresh it, as you can see, the headings there are still there, and plus we have a paragraph now. Now, also you may notice that this paragraph is actually bigger than heading 6, and so this explains to you that paragraphs in HTML are default height, whereas headings, they can have 6 different ranges of height. So that is technically why there's a difference between them. Okay. So that's basically paragraphs. Alright, so going back to Notepad++, right, so if you have had any trouble with your code, please leave a comment below, and I'll try and get back to it soon. Now, as well as paragraphs and headings, there is also another form of writing. Now, this form of writing is actually quite interesting. Now, up to this point, we have had text staying in its position. Now, this tag, called a Marquee Tag, is somewhat like a paragraph, but there's a bit of a difference. Now, in order to see what I'm on about, I'm just going to throw in a random paragraph here between the marquee tags. Okay, so once I have that thrown in, we just do a quick save, which you can just do by press and hold Control and then S. So that's another quick tip if you want to just quickly get back onto it. Now, as we can see here, that if we go over to the right, if it's nothing added, that we can see that basically that this is scrolling text, and what I mean by marquee. Now, it's pretty cool because unlike paragraphs, marquees are able to move. So it's actually a really pretty cool feature. So that's marquees. So at the end of this, up to this point, you should understand about the HTML tags, the head tags, title tags, all the headings, paragraphs, and marquees. But don't worry, I'll just do a quick summary at the end of the video, just to go over it. Now, as well as marquees and paragraphs and headings, we can have another form of writing. Now, this form of writing is actually a bit more interactive than the other three. Now, what I'm going to do right now is things called links, and links are anchors with an addition to them. Okay, so this is what an anchor looks like. Okay, so now an anchor really on its own doesn't really do much use. But what I want to do is within the start tag, so between the keyword and the end of that tag, the opening tag, we're going to add something called an attribute. Now, what an attribute is it's technically a property of a tag. And what I mean by this is, say, if a person was like an element, like a paragraph or a marquee, that, say, if we wanted to explain to someone about us, say that we have blue eyes or green hair, that would be a property about us. However, it's also giving additional information to someone, and that's what attributes are technically doing. They're giving additional information about a tag. So that's why there's a bit of a relation between things here. That tags, that they have additional information through attributes, and since there's a few things giving us additional information to other people, this additional information is properties of us, which is exactly why I would technically call attributes a property of a tag. Now, the one thing in anchors, the attribute we're going to add is a thing called a hyperreference attribute, and all we're going to do is type in href. So H for hyper and ref for reference. Now, as you can see here, that these 4 letters, they have changed to red, and red letters are technically signify an attribute. And earlier on, you would have actually seen the body closing tag become red, because Notepad++ has thought it was an attribute. But since we closed the tag, it's changed back to blue. The one thing about attributes is that there's an attribute name, in this case hyperreference href. Now, as well as this, that names in attributes need to be equal to something really, and as you may guess, the equal sign tells us that it's going to be equal to something. Now then, what a name is equal to is a value, and in attributes, a value is usually surrounded by quotations, either single or double, your choice, but never a single quote and a double quote, or the other way around. It's either two single, just a pair of single quotes, or a pair of double quotes. Okay, now how this link is going to work is that we're going to throw in the name of a website. So for example, I'm going to think of, say, Wikipedia. Now, we can't just throw, say, in www.wikipedia.org, right? Because it won't exactly work. But what we can do to make it work is, before the www, we can add in http by pressing shift and the button to the right of L, and then // which is the same slash that we use to make a tag a closing tag. Okay, so once we have this in, this will be the way that a link is able to tell what website we're going to. Now, for the final addition to a link, we need to give it something to click on. So usually, like, say, a word. Now, I put in Wikipedia, so I'm just going to throw that in instead, since something like Google or YouTube in this case would be pretty stupid because I'm going to Wikipedia, not Google or YouTube. So when we save that when we go down to our web browser and give it a refresh, that we will notice here that the link is now available. So when we click that, what happens is that the internet brings us to that web page. Okay, so that's pretty much how links work. Now, so that's links. Now, one final thing I'll be going over in this video is images. Now, the way images work is actually a little different to a normal tag. Now, up to this point, all tags have had a pair of tags, so an opening tag and a closing tag. But with images, they're known as empty elements, which means they're technically only one tag. Not that hard, and it's actually a really cool bit of code. So first of all, we need to open a tag. Now, the keyword for an image is actually img, so it's like typing in the word image without the vowels. Then we need to give it an attribute like we did for the anchor to make it a link. So the attribute for an image is source. Okay, so just like image, it's pretty much without its vowels. Now, again, because it's an attribute is made up of a name and equaled to a value. Now, as you may know, that closing tags have a slash in them. With the image, we actually apply that slash before we close the tag. Okay? Now, first of all, we're going to need to tell the image what image we want. Or, yeah, technically, we want to tell the code what image we want. Now, first of all, you need to search for the image. So, I'm just going to go into my web browser, and I'm just going to go ahead and search for an image. Okay. So, for example, I'm just going to type in something like HTML. Okay, so I am going to go, say for example, choose this one. Okay, so I am going to go ahead. Now you want to click Save Image As, and right, okay, so then just put in anything you want. So say HTML, and then and then you'll need to pay attention to the type here for a reason, because the save as type, it can either be a JPEG or JPG, which would result in a .jpg type of file, or a PNG, so a .png type of file. Okay, so we save that. Now next we are going to add that code into our source. Okay, so we type in the file name first, so HTML, and then we say dot to say the file type, and then because it was JPG, we put JPG. Even if it's JPEG, just lose the E and put it in. Now if it was a PNG, just get rid of the JPG and put in PNG. Okay, now so let's give it a save, and let's just give it a refresh. Okay, so that would pretty much be kind of what we're looking for. Now, as you can see, it's not the exact image, but that's because I actually previously have saved an image of the exact file, type. Right, but where do you think our image has gone? Now, first of all, we're going to need to find the location. So I put mine in my documents. So I'm going to go to my documents. Okay, and I'm just going to search. So so I'm going to look for my first coding website, which is right here. Okay, so this is basically where we saved it. Now, as you may know, that we an image came up called html.jpg. Now, what I'm going to show you is the image that came up in our case. So this is html.jpg in this folder, which is, as you can see, not the exact image that we chose. However, I'm just going to remove it because so I'm just going to get rid of it. Now, there's a reason behind why I technically I'm getting rid of it, because that when I am going to actually move the image I chose, because I'll explain to you in a while why, that it'll just ask if I'm replacing it, and I'm not just going to bother going through that. So we'll go to our downloads, and we're just going to search through for our image. So okay, so right, okay, so this here is the image we're going to be using. Now, as I said, I'm going to be moving it to my documents. The reason why I need to do this is because when you're adding an image to a code to your web page, what you need to do is you need to put the image that you're using into the same folder as your HTML file. Because as you can see, even though we put in the exact file name and the file type, that what happened is that we didn't exactly have the exact picture that we wanted, because before this had a file called html.jpg, but the image we want is actually in our downloads. Now, I just copied it there, so we're going to our documents, and I'm just going to scroll down to where my HTML file is. Okay, so right here, my first coding website, and we're just going to add it in. So paste. Okay, so right here. Okay, so now that we've added it into our documents, that what I'm going to do now is basically I'm just going to go back to my code, my web browser, and I'm going to refresh it. And as you can see, the picture has changed. So a bit of a summary on the image. Is that for an image to work, first of all, we need the code correct. So in the keyword img, so like image but without the vowels. We need a source, which is kind of the same, which is basically source but without the vowels. And then we need the file name, as we can see here, and dot, and then the file type. And a final thing is that you need your image to be in the same folder as your HTML file. So that's pretty much that bit of information about the image. Okay, so just keep on practicing over that code, because this is pretty much all I'll be teaching you in this tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be going over some much more advanced code, but it won't be that hard after this, after you hopefully have learned a few things. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try and get back to them as soon as possible. Okay, thank you for watching, and keep on practicing your code.